Welcome to the Business Spotlight series. I'm Everardo Resendiz. People know me around here as Coach Ever. I am a certified and business coach, executive and business coach at Action Coach in Northwest Louisiana. Today I have Mack Slaughter with uh, Trust Consultants, right?
Trust Technology
Technology
Consultants.
Consultants,
Yes, sir.
TTC, right?
hmm
That's my guest. And we're going to be talking about his business, the journey to the business, challenges, best practices, share a peek perhaps under the hood of what it really is like to build and operate a business. If this is your first time on the channel, please be sure to like and subscribe to get notifications when we drop conversations just like these. And so let's get started. Mac, welcome, and thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me. Super excited.
Well, will you share with us a little overview of your background and tell us a little bit about the business?
Absolutely. So, again, my name is Max Slaughter. I grew up in Shreveport, Louisiana. Been here most of my life. Stayed here, went to local community college. Um, Not long after that is when I got started in the technology industry. I had a computer science background and started with Allegiance. It was primarily a phone company. We did business phone services for any size business, voice and data cabling. So I'd be the guy crawling through the attic up here running your cable if need be. Um, but from
It doesn't
there,
need conduit, it's you.
yes, basically we categorize that as low voltage, and
Yeah.
that's the qualification for that is if it needs conduit or not. Um, really started as a technician and grew from there, ended up in a sales role when we launched a South branch out of Lake Charles, Louisiana. Did that for 2 years and really kind of did it all. I was the sales guy, the technician, the installer, the troubleshooter. Um, and after 2 years of that experiment, the boss decided to slow that down. And so I moved back to Shreveport and took on a full-time sales role. Eventually took over director of our network services division, and then eventually um, started talking to the boss and said, "Man, what's the future hold?" And one of my colleagues and I started meeting on the side at McDonald's at 6 a.m. and drew up a business plan over a couple of sessions, and then eventually presented it to him and said, "Hey, what do you think of this?" He thought that was a pretty good idea. And then all of a sudden, something called COVID happened. And he's like, "Yeah, now's a great time here. Let's get started." And so um, we met during the lockdown in a open air park. We kept social distancing and we texted. And eventually, in September of 2020, myself and Spencer Taylor took over and renamed it Trust Technology Consultants. And we've been operating under that badge ever since.
Oh, wow. It's quite the journey, quite the story. Well, let me ask you this. Evidently you guys are now owners of the company, right?
Yes, sir.
Started as a tech, made it all the way through all these hardship and difficulties into the place where you were ready to take the baton and
hmm
keep moving forward, right? What's your role? What's Spencer's role?
So we've really divided the company. We're already doing a lot of what we do today in our respective roles. He was really on the operations side. He was lead technician, scheduler, um, tier three tech is what we call him. But he was the operations director for the most part. And then I was over the network services division, which I can explain what that is later. But I was over that division and obviously part of sales. So it kind of already lended itself to a natural separation. He's really over operations, I'm really over sales. And then we just come together to talk about business oriented things and make those decisions together um, when the need arises. Uh, the responsibilities that we took over were more than what we anticipated. Unlike other businesses, we didn't start this out of our garage or anything. We didn't start this from, no, we took a business that was 17 years old. It originally started in 2002. And so we really took the reins of the stagecoach as it was flying down the path and just had to kind of figure it out as we went. And we're still figuring it out as we go. So
So this was in 2020, really during COVID, that you had that opportunity.
absolutely. Yeah. September of 2020 is when we went live, and everything leading up till then was really a journey. Um,
Quite,
juggling. I'm sorry.
it's quite an interesting one. I'm sure.
Yeah, it was because we were juggling, what are we doing as an industry? So, we're telecommunications consultants, we're technology consultants. That was one of the biggest industries hit during the pandemic because you now have a shift of what we're doing here. Zoom overnight became, a verb. It became a band-aid. Everybody calls it a band-aid, but it's actually an adhesive medical covering, but everybody calls it a band-aid. Zoom became synonymous for just a virtual meeting. Work from home, headsets, phones on desk, everybody working off their cell phone. It happened overnight. And we had to adopt with that, help our customers get set up for that. Customers who were not able to work from home, we had to rush and get it done while sometimes not being allowed in a building. That happened during that. We were trying to get a new setup for customers so they could work from home, and they said, "Well, you can't come in here." Uh, I worked with a nursing home, and an area that a technician had to be in was a COVID hot unit, and they wouldn't allow him in. So those were challenges on top of what we were doing to try to, transition the ownership of the business.
Wow. So was it like this looks like the perfect storm, like a boon with all the new opportunities coming along with it, with the
Hmm.
challenges of the logistics of handling that during a time when everything was inaccessible.
Hmm.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, well, looking at your role, Spencer's role, right? So, how's time for you? Are you working a regular schedule? In the regular world, we talk about 40 hours a week or so. I mean, what are the hours like for you?
Yeah, I would say it's typically, an 8 to 5, 9 to 6, typically. I end up going to a lot of conferences, technology conferences, Spencer as well. And so sometimes that'll be, a week long, half week long, couple days. Um, we recently did a trip to Fort Lauderdale for IT Expo, and so we were out of pocket for a few days, but it was a fantastic learning experience and got to meet with a lot of vendors and technology experts. And so the typical is, a 40-hour work week, but then we also have conferences that we go to that are 24/7 while you're there. They're never ending. So it can kind of get outside of the typical lines. And then with what we do impacts businesses day-to-day operations. So whether it's a internet cutover for your business or a new phone system, sometimes that happens after hours because business can't be down during that 8 to 5. And so sometimes our technicians and sometimes Spencer and myself will have to participate after hours.
Okay, so typically doesn't typically happen.
Basically, yeah. It's more the exception than it is the rule.
Mhm. Interesting. Well, you have the experience of doing it as an employee where, you were required a certain amount of hours. And so, you know, it's a little bit different now. Can you
Absolutely.
tell there is a big difference in the time commitment that you have to put in?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I don't know. It's like the time is kind of the same, but it's like the mental
Ah,
capacity of it is very different because what I used to do was just make sure we get from A to B. And now I have to make sure that, okay, that person's getting from A to B, then that person's getting B to C, then that person, and, make sure all the pieces are in line so that it does go smoothly. So,
And this one is aerial, that's subterranean, and this one is over water. Yeah,
yeah,
I get it.
absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. So let's move on to what makes your business so special, right? So who do you serve? How will the audience know if they're a good fit for your services?
If a customer uses the internet, that's the simplest way I can put it. If they use the internet, they are a potential client of ours. We service any business, any size, from small mom and pop all the way to multi-site health organizations, financial organizations, manufacturing organizations, and anything in their technology stack. Um, what we do is we act as a consultant, so a broker, an agnostic representative for that client to say, hey, what business goal are you trying to accomplish? Okay, we're going to go build it out with the technology needed for that. So if you have an initiative to focus on work from home strategy, or what we're seeing now is kind of a swing back to a return to office strategy. So, okay, you're getting prepared to have people back in the office. What is going to be needed for that? So we're going to make sure you have ample internet connection, your phone system is going to be stable, all those different things. And so we may pull two or three different vendors together and present that to the client to say, this is the good, better, best options. And we can, a la carte piece part it together.
Love it. Okay, so what makes your business unique? Why do people choose you?
It comes down to the team that's here. Um, we have a lot of competition in the space locally and nationally. Some of the biggest differences are AT&T. I'll pick on them. They're easy to pick on. They're the 1,000-pound gorilla in the room.
Yeah,
You
and
can
then
go to
nobody
an A.
likes them.
Well, they're they're good. They're good. I do like them. I sell their services. So, but AT&T, if you're working with an AT&T rep, and I know plenty of them, they're my good friends. I love them. But at the end of the day, they're only going to be pushing an AT&T product. So they may have to put a, square peg in a round hole. Yeah, it'll fit because the square is small enough to fit in that round hole, but it doesn't quite fill the gaps or the voids that, you may be missing out on. Whereas we're going to find the perfect fit. So that may not be AT&T, that may be AT&T through a third party that's adding on a DDoS protection, a direct denial of service, which is a cybersecurity product. It could automatically add in a wireless backup. You're still using AT&T, but you're going through a third party. So there's a bunch of different avenues and options for that a direct sales rep of an organization may not have in their tool belt that we do.
Okay. All right. So you have competitors like, you said locally, nationally, right? You have some international competitors, I'm sure.
Mhm.
Um, do you compete really with all of them, or are there, let's say, more direct competitors to what you do? And how do they compare to you?
So our competitors would obviously be the carriers directly. Um, Google. Google is a competitor because if a customer just looks up VoIP, right? Voice over IP. They just Google VoIP. They're going to be inundated by, the first few results are sponsored ads from RingCentral, Vonage, and Verizon. So now that customer has to decide, okay, what's the best fit? I've already, communicated with all those customers. I have access, or those suppliers, I'm sorry. We have access to those suppliers. So if RingCentral is a good fit for you, we'll help you build that out. Um, so self-education is great, but that can be a competitor and it can lead customers down a path that's not quite right for them.
Interesting.
There,
I've never had that fake. That's an excellent one.
yeah. We also have other, consultants. Um, the what we call it is the channel, or the technology channel. It's growing every day. A lot of companies like Zoom or AT&T are putting more resources behind us, um, to kind of even the playing field with the direct reps. Um, Sometimes companies put together a teaming environment, so sometimes we'll get to work with direct reps, and it gives a better customer experience. So that's what I would say is kind of our challenges is working against other consultants, direct carriers, and self-education.
Oh, okay. So what's one thing that you wish more people knew about your business?
Everything we have to offer. Um, that's kind of the biggest challenge we've had with the rebranding. We're 3.5 years in. I still have people calling us allegiance. I still have people asking for the former boss, and he's still here. He's a sales guy for me, but um, it's changed, and not a lot of people have really caught up to that and everything that we have to offer. We're still known as just the phone guys, but we're so much more than that now. We truly want to be technology consultants, business consultants for any organization to set you apart, to improve your efficiency, your scalability, your security, your image, everything about your business we want to participate in from a technology perspective. And that getting that message across has been our biggest challenge.
So it leads me to marketing then, right? Which is something vital for every business out there, and often an area that is a struggle for people, right? So
Hmm.
I'm always curious, what what are you doing? Um, I mean, is this like a budget that you lay out for it? Is there a strategy, a marketing plan of sorts? How do we get, what channels do we use to get that message across to the marketplace?
Great question. We've mostly been focusing on social media aspect. Being kind of younger in this generation, we've been focusing on LinkedIn and Facebook. We're starting to build out more of a library on YouTube as well. Over the last couple of years, we've been working with a social media strategist and have been posting to um, the company LinkedIn, employees LinkedIn, Facebook, just for the company Facebook. Um, and we'll do little talking head videos like this. We also host quarterly lunch and learns for customers to come and meet with a supplier or talk about a specific product. Like the last one we just had was specifically on cybersecurity. And so we had people come in. We then are now starting to host monthly webinars, the second Tuesday of every month. We typically pick a different topic, and it's really just kind of a fireside chat. It's just Spencer, myself, and our business developer, Mark Cruz. We jump on a call and we just talk about a single topic. Last one was contact center as a service, otherwise known as CCaaS. We then clean it up a little bit and then put that on YouTube, um, chopping it up into YouTube shorts and posting them on all the different platforms. So that's kind of our strategy right now, other than just traditional cold calling, door knocking, all that fun stuff.
You still do that?
Oh, absolutely.
All
Our
right.
biggest um, lead generation is customer referral. It still is today.
Okay. Okay. So word of mouth, really.
Word of mouth, like I said, cold calling, and then once they start doing their due diligence, they end up finding out that other organizations they work with us.
Love it. Okay. So do you have like a CRM? How do you track your leads and your conversion?
We do have a rudimentary CRM because we are technology based. We do have technicians, service calls, contracts that bill. And so we have a tool that tracks all that for us, our ticketing software. We're actually in the middle of launching a brand new billing platform as well that's going to increases our customer interaction with us, um, takes out a lot of the manual process, makes it a lot smoother for them. Really excited about that portal. It's going live right now.
Love it. Very good. Very good. So we spent some time focused on the business and uh, some of the practices that you have utilized over the time that you've been there. Um, I like to go back a little bit and dive into your journey. Okay.
Okay.
Um, so as you look at your journey so far, what has been the most memorable roadblock or hurdle you were challenged with, and that you were forced to overcome?
Since taking over the business,
Yeah.
um, the biggest challenge we faced day one was going from being colleagues to now bosses. When we took over, I think we had about 8 people working here outside of Spencer and myself, so about 10 total. And so it was almost overnight when we took over. We made the announcement late August, took over September 1st. And just to watch that shift from I was a colleague of these 8 other individuals. I had my interactions with them. We had our roles. And then all of a sudden, I'm the boss, and Spencer's the boss. That was an interesting challenge. It was harder than I anticipated. Um, just the barriers that got built almost overnight was very shocking, very surprising to me.
Okay. Now, were those barriers born from the team, or were they from you towards them?
It was from the team.
From the team. Okay. I just didn't want to make any
Yeah,
assumptions.
I didn't want the way we worked together to really change, and I guess that was naive on my part, um, because again, we were already kind of in our pre-established roles. Spencer was already over operations. I was already over network services. We each had, we were both supervisors, and we had people who answered to us. That didn't change. Just the signature on the pay stub changed, but it made a difference once our signatures got put on those checks every other week. That that really changed, and the type of interactions I had with people um, shifted.
Love it. Okay. And so, how did you overcome that? How do you break down the
Um,
wall?
well, I hate to say, but it kind of happened naturally because today, um, 3.5 years later, there's really only one person left that worked with us originally. Everybody else has been a new hire, so they've come into that role, um, without knowing anything different. We weren't colleagues. It was always Spencer and I are the leaders of this organization. And so
Oh,
it happened naturally. We did a lot that we could in those first couple years, for team building. Um, we would go out for lunches, we would go to other events and things of that nature. Um, but like I said, it just kind of happened naturally. It wasn't something I necessarily worked on.
okay. All right. And so, it had an impact on you as a business. I mean,
Yes.
ultimately, naturally, yes, you had to replace people in your team, but that comes at a cost.
hmm
So, what kind of impact did it have for you?
Uh, Training. I mean, when you have to take people who were established in their roles and put someone new in that position, um, that almost slows progress in certain perspectives because we always talk about, and I'm pretty sure you've heard this a million times over, work on the business, not in the business. And so every time we would have to get in that position of having to backfill, we're now finding ourselves back in the business, which isn't bad, but it's taking us away from guiding the company where we believe that it should be because we're having to work in the day to day. Um, it was an
Well,
interesting challenge.
it's the training that you're having to do or you had to do at that time really was your true investments.
Yes.
Um, because it is really transferring your ability to deliver to the people that are going to do it, they're going to do it for you.
Hmm.
Where you were good, they have to be great.
Yes.
So outstanding, outstanding. So let's now fast forward and look at what comes next, right? Where do you see the business 3 to 5 years out?
We're always excited about the next 5 years. We always say, in 5 years, and that tin can just keeps getting kicked down the road. Um, we're almost at our 5 year mark. Again, September will be 4, and it's just hard to believe that we're already there. And um, this year is a huge year. We're taking on more projects, newer projects, different type of projects, launching with different products that we haven't really leaned into before because our messaging is getting across to our customers that we're not just the phone guys. So that's huge. And I'm looking to really grow new product categories that we haven't necessarily embraced before under the old organization. That's really what was the key of all of this is a change had to be made due to the market and due to the industry. And that was part of the catalyst for Spencer and I taking over.
It's just great. I think it was the right thing to happen at the right time. You know what I mean?
Hopefully, we're putting in the work every day to make
I
sure that
mean,
comes true.
technology is one of the most difficult areas to be in because it changes so quickly.
Hmm.
I was talking with somebody last week about these new devices, cloud, I think it is,
Hmm.
that you stick to your phone and in the back of your phone, and they listen to your conversation and they
Yeah.
give you a summary, not just a transcript, but a summary of what was discussed with names, people, tasks to
Yeah.
follow, and it's like, whoa.
It's
And
it's
and,
huge. It's
and but
huge.
the reason I'm saying that is because he got that, and now you have that ability on your phone within a month.
Hmm.
So that launch of that product is gonna get, you know, affected by the fact that these will be offered in our regular devices.
We're really seeing that adoption. You and I have spoken about AI recently, and just for people out there, if you're running a Windows 11 computer, you've already got Microsoft's AI. They've got it baked into your computer now. It's called Copilot. It's there for you to use. They want you to use it. The more you use it, the bigger their model, their language model becomes. Google launched their was called Bard. They renamed it to Gemini. So Gemini is now launched, and of course, OpenAI with ChatGPT is launched. Um, we're seeing those adopted in technology for businesses, and we're actually working with clients to build those out. Not in any nefarious ways. Nobody loves an auto attendant. You call in, press 1 for this, press 2 for that. I'm the guy that builds that. In fact, my voice is on a lot of local businesses around here. Um, but what we're doing is we're putting in what you're talking about, the note taking applications, the action items. It's baked into Zoom now, it's baked into Microsoft Teams. But there's ways to utilize it for your business. I'll go back to the onboarding idea. You take a employee and you got to sit them next to another employee, a veteran employee, and let them just watch until they can do. Well, if we build out the technology using artificial intelligence, which is really just machine learning, we can then make the application they're using to talk to that end user, feed them information, say, hey, say this, ask this, here's your action items. We can build all those things out to help organizations speed up onboarding, reduce the time for turnover, and ultimately give a better customer experience because you don't have to worry about having a green um, employee on the phone with any of your customers.
All right, love it. I have a question for you because you mentioned something about, we always talk about in 5 years and we kick that can down the road, if I'm not
Hmm.
mistaken. Um, what's your approach to goal setting? How many goals
It's
do you
not the
set at a time? And, do you document them anywhere? Is that something you guys do?
It's obviously been something that I need to do better at. Obviously, as you know, you're my coach that tells me that, and so I'm on the hot seat now. But we have started adopting that better. We did set out in 2020 with goals, and we really started with. I hope I don't misquote this, but start with why. I believe that's Simon
Yes,
Sinek.
that's right. That's right.
Yep. So that was one of the things that our boss made us read. He said, you have to read this before we can continue the conversation. So that was kind of the core of where we kicked everything off was why are we doing this? And so looking back at it, and we did this recently, looking back at it, we're like, man, that's accurate, but it's different from where we're at today. And so what's our new why? What do we need to update it for 2024? And then, yes, just goal setting from a revenue perspective, an employee perspective, gaining new clients, retaining new clients. You mentioned our CRM. Some of those analytics are baked into that, which we shifted CRMs last year. And that was one of those reasons so that we can track those things, track our KPIs that ultimately help design our goals for each year over year.
All right. Well, we have covered a lot of ground today in this conversation. And so, for those who are watching, I will encourage you to save these and come back and review it a few times. There's a lot of little great nuggets around here, and I will encourage you to do that when we do release this video, right? But as we begin to wrap up, I have a few rapid fire questions, right?
Okay.
Uh, quick, top of head answers for each, okay? So,
Okay.
what is the key to success for you?
Do the right thing every time, all the time.
What is your one piece of advice for other business owners?
Don't get lost in the sauce.
Okay, you need to elaborate.
Same thing, don't get um, work on the business, not in the business. You obviously have to toe the line and do both. But if you're not building out your structure, building out your processes, then you, you're just doing what majority of entrepreneurs, majority of business owners get into the position they're in so they don't have to punch a time clock and do the same thing day in, day out. If you're not focusing on how to build out your processes and procedures, then you're going to end up doing that same thing anyway. You're
That's
just
right.
signing your own check. And so don't get lost in the sauce.
Love that. Thank you so much. What is one book that you're reading right now or you have read recently that's made a difference for you?
So fiction, I'm reading Shogun by James Cavell because I got hooked on the FX series. But nonfiction, I'm actually rereading um, Simon Sinek's Start With Why.
Or would one? Okay. Very good. If you had to choose one area of your business, you could immediately improve, like tomorrow, be
Hmm.
different tomorrow. What would that be?
Mm, improve one part of the business immediately tomorrow. I I think it would still be that I want our customers to know us as trust technology, not as who we once were. That's still one of our biggest challenges.
Okay, that's fair enough. Fair enough. You want to differentiate, right? So before we get into the final question of the day, how can other people learn more about your company? How can they get in touch with you? Social media, direct messages, all these.
Yeah, absolutely. Social media, we have a very prominent LinkedIn. If you're just curious about tech and want to keep up to date, we're always posting stuff about the latest things coming out. So you can go follow us, Trust Technology Consultants, on LinkedIn and Facebook. You can get in touch with us by calling our main number, 318-212-0012. And you can always reach out to us via email at sales@allttc.com. sales.com. That's sales at Alpha Lima Lima Tango Tango Charlie.com.
Hey, you need to tell me about this all TTC. Why the all TTC?
I love it. Okay, so we didn't, soft pitch this one. So it's kind of like an homage. So the previous company was Allegiance LLC, and the domain was allegiancecom.com, and that was a terror. Like, oh my gosh, like, hey, what's your email address? ALLEGIANCECOM.com every single time. It always got messed up. And so the one thing Spencer and I said was, we've got to get a better email address. And so we kind of played around with a couple of different things. And we said, well, what if there's a way that we can pay homage to where we came from? The foundation that our business, previous business owner, our boss laid, we want to honor that. And so our initials, Trust Technology Consultants, TTC, we grabbed the all, and so it's kind of a play on words. So it's an homage to Allegiance, and then it's kind of like all technology, all trust technology. And so it just kind of came together, and we just created all TTC. So
Very cool. Very cool. Thank you for that. So, what's most inspiring for you today?
you coach, I mean, you're such an inspiration. I always enjoy our conversations together, and you've really helped put my mindset in a different position to help run the organization.
Thank you very much. And thank you for being here today. I know that this is a drain on your time talking about, um, the fact that we are limited, right? In the time that
Hmm.
we have available to do things. But I really, really appreciate you investing this time with me today. And so I hope that those viewers see it to the end and they keep that video and they keep looking at it. Once we release it, I'll get it to you. But thank you for being here, okay?
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.